everyone at this point. I will be unmuting you one by one to get a really quick status report update right towards the end. If you have any questions, go ahead and use the chat function for now until I take you off mute. That way we'll be able to hear everything that is going on in case there's any background noise on your end that you're not able to control. So our goals for today are to review the planning phase, look at the milestone chart and some other scheduling tools that you can use in addition to FreeCamp. Talk about the January webinar, and then to review our schedule for January 30th and 31st when we'll be in Orlando. So as you have been working on your project plan and following up from the last webinar, we really hope that you will complete the planning phase before you arrive in January. As you're completing the steps in the planning phase, please double check your project planning to make sure you're ready to launch into execution when we meet in January in a really organized fashion. If you plan accordingly, really the execution portion of the project plan should include minimal monitoring and controlling. So really important that you set milestones in a WBS, in that you have specific deadlines, in that they're realistic deadlines for you and for any other participants who are assisting you with this project. Really important that that communication plan be in place and be shared with all participants. And then you really need to make sure that you're monitoring, controlling, and adjusting your schedule as you move along, because as you know, as we all know, things do disrupt all of our best laid plans. For example, most of Michigan school districts were on a probably well-deserved snow day break yesterday. And so anything teachers in Michigan or probably Wisconsin and some of those other northern states that may have had some plans that needed to be completed while at school yesterday certainly would never have happened. And then make sure that you are meeting your learning outcomes that you've established. Oh, Amy, thank you. Hi, all. Merry Christmas to all of you as well. So the planning phase includes all of these steps, and each one is really important. And I know that some of you have had difficulty getting started in the planning phase because the work that you want to do is dependent upon others approving that work, and getting that approval has taken longer than you anticipated. So you're a little bit further behind in the planning phase. We recognize that, we understand that, because when you can't control everything, you're not able to move along at the pace that you would like to. But each of these is just really important that you have all of these in place, and that you don't skip any one of these, whether you're using FreeCamp to do your planning or you're using some other project management tool. Couple of those steps are sometimes really easy to think, well, I'm just going to keep it in my head. I'll just know what the risks are and how I'm thinking about managing those risks. But you really need to put pen to paper so that not only are you holding yourself accountable for each of these pieces of the planning phase, but that way we can also help you and assist you throughout the planning phase and ask questions. And see if we can't figure that out. So Jen just wrote in a quick note that she's logged in as Kim, and she'll be with us until the eye doctor comes in. That's total multitasking, Jen. And then Jody said, anyone have any suggestions of another project management tool other than FreeCamp? If any of you have a suggestion for a different project management tool, would you go ahead and type that into the chat function for Jody? Anne says she's having a hard time using FreeCamp as well. I'll send Lori a text as well, and ask her if she might have some other ideas for Amy. They're asking for themselves for this project. So Amy, if you have a couple of ideas, would you go ahead and put that into in fact, actually, Amy, I'm going to unmute you a second. See if we can't get this question. If there's anybody else who has ideas on other project management tools besides, oh, Amy's mic is broken, so she's going to have to type it into the chat function. So I'm not going to unmute you, Amy, because that's not going to help at all. But if there's anyone else who is using a different project management tool, poor school, Amy's taking donations. I love it. Other than FreeCamp, if you would go ahead and type that into the chat. Otherwise, what I will do is I'm going to ask Lori. Amy says she uses Google Drive. To do her planning and her organizing. Amy, if you'd be willing to share, I know that Lori has shared your parts of your project with the group already. If you would be willing to share your Google Drive so people could come in and look at how you've set up your project planning, that would be terrific. So if you would share it either with me or just go ahead and share it with the others in the group so they can just kind of come in and look around and see how you're using Google Drive. You certainly can use a Google, you could just use a spreadsheet if you wanted to, an Excel spreadsheet. Amy says Google Drive has a team option with calendars and folders, and she'd be happy to share that out. So Amy, just let me know if you're going to share that out with the group. Please share that with April and Lori and I as well, or if you would like me to share it with the group, just go ahead and send me the link and then I'll share it with them as well. Oh, thank you, Amy. You are way ahead of the rest of us. Okay, as soon as this is over, I'll go ahead and get that shared out to everyone. So in terms of looking at scheduling, it's really important that you determine the sequence of the activities that you're going to complete. So it doesn't matter what tool you use, Google Drive or FreeCamp or whatever you are interested in. It's really important to make sure you decide which of your activities need to be done independently, using time and resources, or if they're dependent upon another task getting completed. Or again, if they can be done at the same time as another task. This will really help you assign tasks to others and to stay on schedule. And I know that you know this as well. We do it, our students sometimes do it as well. We don't get down to the nitty-gritty details, and we think we can just list some very broad-based tasks, but it's really important to list every single task that needs to be accomplished so that nothing gets missed in this project, especially with as busy as you are with everything else that you are doing. You then need to really make sure what sequence you're going to complete your steps in. And when I went through project management training, our project management trainer actually had us use these yellow Post-it notes, and we listed every single task down to making a phone call if that's what needed to be done. And then we just brainstormed every single one of those tasks, and then as a group, because we were doing the project as a group. I know that you're doing it by yourself, though you may have some additional assistance back at work. Then we start taking those Post-it notes and laying them out in sequence, dependent upon whether they were dependent or independent tasks that needed to be completed. That really helped us to see the big picture. And for me, doing it on a wall just really gave me a much better view of what needed to be done versus doing it in technology. And then you can take all of those tasks and put it into FreeCamp or put it into Google Drive. But again, how you do it is totally up to you. The key is that it gets done. Whoa, of course I tried to hit the, hang on, gotta go backwards. Okay, and then, well, okay, let's see if we can't. My computer seems to be acting independently of me today. I don't know what's going on. It doesn't want to talk about step 6 or step 7, I think. Please make sure that you, as you estimate time, you really think about those disruptions that might happen, managing your risks so that you don't get down to the wire and running out of time as you execute. And then constantly be looking at that schedule and review it, revise it as you need it, as you need to. You can do a simple spreadsheet, such as what you see here, set up by weeks. It would allow you then to see your dependent and independent variables and activities, and see what tasks that you can run simultaneously. And you can see the milestones are listed here. And then it's broken down by the activity and then exactly what needs to be done, and it's mapped out in terms of when it has to be completed and whether that is a dependent or an independent variable. You could also use a Gantt chart. I believe Amy used a Gantt chart. I can't remember exactly. I know someone did, but if you've had training in terms of how to use Gantt charts, these are really a great way to monitor the work that needs to be completed. We used a Gantt chart when we were building a store inside a mall and had to be open on opening day. So whether we were ready or not, the mall was going to be open and we had to finish, and we had to open our doors at the same time as the rest of the mall. I will absolutely send you a copy of the PowerPoint as soon as we're done. Amy said Smartsheet is also really easy and another free way to do it. One more option that Lori wanted to share with you is a PERT chart. In a PERT chart, if you want to look at critical path of 2 projects, just be able to show you options of the resources that you can use. You can do it by time for each individual task, and calculate different options to determine which of the paths you want to take to complete your project. Microsoft Office does have some project management software, and that's a really great tool to use if you're setting a critical path method. And again, any of these methods, you're not going to use all of them. You're going to choose the method that you want to use to go ahead and get your schedule done and make sure that your planning is complete. So kind of just to review, the planning phase, which is the phase that we are working on between now and January 30th, when we next meet, when we will go into execution, is to make sure that you have done all of this planning prior to your arrival at in Orlando in January. Lori asked that I really talk about assessing those risks. After you've already run into risk, right, risk management at this point. Some of you have been able to just go ahead and get started right from the get-go when we left Alabama back in October. Others of you have run into some risks that you've already had to manage in terms of being able to get the planning phase even implemented. So once you set your schedule, please make sure that you go back and assess the risk of each milestone and each task, and determine how you are going to handle that risk if it occurs, to minimize your time and productivity loss during this project. Because we are under some pretty tight timelines. We've got about 6 weeks, 6.5 weeks left before we're going to meet, and we want to make sure that we're all together and have completed this planning phase before we move into the next phases, which will take us to the end of the year. January 30, 31, we're going to be meeting in Orlando. Hopefully it's going to be a lot warmer than it is in the north right now. And hopefully you've all made your hotel arrangements and you have sent your flight information to Annie for her to go ahead and book those flights. I know that some of you are coming in for the leadership forum prior to the project management training, so your time frame is going to look a little bit different. And if you are coming in for the leadership forum, remember that there is no additional charge. Your registration is waived. We'll pay for your hotel rooms, and then we'll pay for your meals and travel expenses as well. If you are thinking about going to the leadership forum and haven't registered yet, I really need to have you register this week. There is some homework prior to coming for the leadership forum. There's about 6 hours of work that you're going to need to do up front, and I need to get that information out to people. I was hoping to do that at the beginning of December before I left on my vacation, but we had a whole bunch of people who had not registered yet. So I am planning on the 15th to get all of the homework and information and details on leadership forum out to people. So if you are planning to come but have not registered yet, please make sure you register for that leadership forum. Likewise, I haven't looked since I got back from vacation to see if you all registered for the Project Management Institute. If you have not yet done that, or if you would you please make sure that you go ahead and get registered. If you're not sure, shoot me an email and I'll check with Marcia and ask her to get me a list of who's registered. I know when I left December 1st, I think only 3 or 4 of you had registered at that point. The focus of our meeting in January is really going to be on executing, monitoring, and controlling, and that's why it's so important that you have the planning phase completed when you arrive in Florida, so that our time there and our energy can be spent on focusing on executing, monitoring, and controlling. Lacey did a doodle, I believe, a while ago, looking at dates because some people had conflicts with that week that we had originally chosen. And we found that July 10th and 11th, everyone was available to come to Columbus for our final meeting for the Project Management Institute. So please plan on July 10th and 11th. We'll have details out to you. Probably when we meet in January, we'll provide those additional details for our July 10th and 11th meeting. April and Lori and I will meet to make sure that that's taken place. Okay, so we are not, Lori is not going to hold a January webinar. Instead, she would like to meet with each of you on a one-to-one meeting. She'll be contacting each of you to schedule a one-to-one meeting so that she can assist you with making sure that the planning phase is complete. Please make sure you continue to upload your documents, and whether they're in FreeCamp or you have them somewhere else, it doesn't matter. But when you upload those framework documents, if you're using Google Drive, if you're using Microsoft Office, if you're using FreeCamp, please make sure that you share those with Lori, April, and I so that we're all able to see them. And then you can use any kind of scheduling software that you would like. If you're having trouble with FreeCamp, if you want some additional training on that, Lori really is the expert. But again, we have Amy who shared her Google Drive, so you can look at how she does it in Google Drive. And then Microsoft Office also has some planning software. So Kim said, if we continue with the PD team, will the dates fall around those dates also? Yes, it will, Kim. And I'll send that information out to you. I just had a conversation with Jim about that today, about trying to get all of that scheduled in the same time frame. So I'm going to just really quickly, we told you we would be together 30 minutes, so I'm going to very quickly unmute people. Now, Amy, I know that you do not have a microphone. So if you want to type into the chat button, just give us a super quick update. We want everyone less than a minute. Okay, less than a minute. Give us an update where you are. If you are having any struggles in what you need to get done before we meet in January. So Ann, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you first. So Ann, go ahead.
Basically, where I am is we're just fast and furious trying to get all of the stores functioning the way they are supposed to. And that's the project that I'm working on. So it's been crazy.
So as you're thinking about the planning phase, where are you at? Are you 50% complete in the planning phase, 100%, 75%? Where would you put yourself along that scale?
I would probably put myself about 50%. I've gone through the communications. I'm going to work on milestones, activities, and tasks over Christmas break.
Okay, sounds wonderful. I know Christmas break is coming, that holiday break is coming. I think that'll give us all time. Now make sure you guys take some time to relax as well, because sometimes I know you guys are doers and not relaxers, so take some time for yourself as well. Thank you, Ann. I'm going to go ahead and open up Jane. Jane, if you want to share with us.
Well, we're working on the SBLA conference, and I have to say I think the conference is going well. My getting everything put into the framework is a little behind because we've been using just like a day planner calendar and some things like that I need to transfer the information to upload it. But I have right now everything I think in the framework pretty much through the milestones. We've done the risk management plan, and but there's also things that, like we list the tasks, but then we go back and add to that too. So.
Okay, thank you. Jody, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you if you can let us know where you're at in the planning phase.
I'm in the planning phase. My part would probably be probably about 75%. Run into a couple of issues so I'm trying to assess some risk while we're doing this, because I really don't have or should I say there really wasn't left a good contact group or wallet or Rolodex, whatever you want to call it, of companies that we've used for the internship. So I'm kind of having to start from scratch to set that up to get our 75 kids placed this summer, which could possibly be quite an issue, but we're going to work through it.
Okay, awesome. So about 75% done, but absolutely. And one of the things about this project management plan, Jody, what I hope to see then is at some point in time when you hand it off to someone else, you'll have everything organized. The structure will be there, the milestones will be there. So it'll be, if it's you next year, it'll be much easier for you. And if it's somebody else at some point in the future, it's going to be much easier for them.
That's my hope as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Kim, I'm going to unmute you, but I don't know if this is Kim or Jen or a combination of Kim and Jen.
It's probably a combination of both of us, because Jen logged in at me at the doctor's office, but if the doctor comes in, she's going to step off. I'm actually getting ready to head into the Michigan Marketing Educators Board meeting, and at this board meeting, the major topic of discussion is going to be our Summer Academy, which is our project. We do have some plans already in place. We have been doing a little bit of risk management along the way because we're running into some resistance, but I believe after tonight we will have conquered the resistance and be ready to then go full force into the planning of our actual project.
Okay, great. And Kim, go ahead and log off as everyone else is doing their final reports, and you can go ahead and get headed into your meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye. Lacey, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Lacey maybe does not have, okay.
Yes, okay, there, can you hear me?
Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Okay, go ahead,
Okay,
Lacey.
sorry. I guess I was muted as well. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I have been working on it. I'm kind of fleshing it out the more I go, but I've kind of landed on on a handbook for chapter officers, and I mean mine will be more specific, I guess, to DECA since that's my CTSO, but hopefully it would be something that if you deal with chapter officers or any sort of leadership that you can use. So, and I'm getting more ideas the further we go, and looking at other chapters and pulling in information from other successful chapters and states and things like that. So hopefully I can compile, and of course it won't be the end all be all, but it'll be a framework, because that's our biggest thing with our officers. Once the year, we can plan during the summer, but then once the year gets started, it all seems to fall apart, and we don't have a good, strong framework to fall back on. So that's what I'm working on. So but as far as my planning, because I keep I've kind of been changing as I'm going. I'd say I'm probably about 50%, but now I think I've landed on something solid, and I can go now complete the rest of the planning process.
Right, and I have to agree with you, Lacey. I wish that I would have had project management training back early in my career, because so often the students in the summer had grandiose ideas, really great
yes,
ideas and plans, and the execution never happened. But as I was going through project management training, it was because I realized that the planning never happened.
Yes.
And
yes.
our students and we tend to not take the time to plan in order to make the execution so much easier. So you hit that right. You hit that nail on the head.
Right.
So I think that's going to be a really valuable resource, irregardless of whether you're DECA or FBLA or BTA or whatever.
Yeah.
That should be able to help people. So thank you, Lacey. And
Thank
then Tammy, go ahead.
Yes, I am probably maybe 75% in the planning phase. I had emailed Lori earlier on just with some questions and concerns as far as the actual paperwork, because my whole plan is about the assessments for AP for an AP course, and our AP course, the course itself is a year long, but we only teach it at a semester level. So the majority of mine is going to be finished by the end of January, with the one component of the actual multiple choice part of the AP exam, which is in May. And so that's the only other part that I'm needing to kind of put together. But the paperwork, the right paperwork that goes along with the right phases of project management are the things that I have left to do.
Okay, awesome. Great. And then Amy said she's completed all the planning documents, so she's at 100%, and she's starting on her final product draft in getting that completed. So really, just to kind of summarize here, working hard to get that planning phase completed so we're ready in January for execution. Look for an email from Lori to you to schedule a one-to-one meeting with her so she can help you through. I'm going to share Amy's Google Drive with you so you can look at how she has set it up using Google Drive. You can also set it up using spreadsheets or other project management tools. Microsoft Office also has project management tools. So whatever you're comfortable with, that's what we want you to use. You don't have to use FreeCamp. Just make sure whatever software you are using that you are sharing that with us. So Lori can really kind of monitor and help and ask questions along the way rather than towards the end when maybe you needed a help a few weeks in advance of that. So the next time that we talk will be in Orlando, Florida in January. You'll be talking to Lori. I'm going to send the PowerPoint to you. I'm going to send you the link from Amy. Please don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us. If you're struggling, if you're at 50%, if you're at 25%, if you're at 75%, our goal is to make all of you successful so that we can have some really great projects that we can share with others in other teachers as we work to help them use project management in their own programs as we move forward. So you guys have a great holiday. Have a great 1 week, 1.5 week, 2 week break, whatever that might be for you. And we will talk to you soon.